name's Robert Ballard. I'm the Science and Operations Officer here at the Central Pacific Hurricane Center. We have a very busy morning in place here, so let's get right to it. Hurricane Douglas continues on a path that's going to take it dangerously close to the main Hawaiian Islands on Sunday and Monday. Right now, Hurricane Douglas has maximum sustained winds of 90 miles per hour. It's about 325 miles east of Hilo and about 520 miles to the east-southeast of Honolulu. There's a couple things to note in this advisory. One is that Douglas is continuing a gradual, slow weakening trend, which in itself is good news, but the bad news is that this hurricane is going to come very close to the islands even as it's weakening, and we do expect significant impacts as it makes its point of closest approach or possible landfall as it comes through. Now, with this advisory at 11 a.m., we have issued a hurricane warning for Oʻahu, and that means that we do expect hurricane conditions to occur somewhere within the warning area within the next 36 hours. There is also a tropical storm warning and a hurricane watch. This remains in effect from the last advisory for Hawaiʻi County, the Big Island, and also Maui County, which includes the islands of Maui, Molokai, Lanai, and Kaho'olawe. Tropical storm watch remains in effect for Hawaiʻi County at this point. We do hope that folks will continue to pay attention as Douglas gets closer. We will be doing updated position estimates every 3 hours. And as it gets within radar range, we may be able to do position estimates even more frequently than that. On the forecast track, we still have Douglas coming very close to the islands. It'll be approaching us through the night tonight, and the weather will go downhill rather quickly near the Big Island. And then it'll be close to or over parts of the state, particularly the northern and central islands, for Sunday into Monday. We do expect that gradual weakening trend, as I said, with 90-mile-per-hour winds currently sustained. There will be a gradual decrease in intensity, but it's important to note that as Douglas gets close, it's likely to still be either a low-end hurricane or a high-end tropical storm. In terms of impacts to the islands, we know from past experience that whether you get a high-end tropical storm or a low-end hurricane, the impacts are going to be very, very similar and can do quite a bit of damage. So we want folks to be ready for that. As far as the other hazards go, we will expect life-threatening and destructive surf to affect portions of especially the east and north-facing shores as Douglas approaches. And that extremely high surf will also be exacerbated by a 2 to 4 foot storm surge, which is accompanying the hurricane as it approaches. So not only will you see damaging wave action, but also surge will come in with the hurricane as it approaches. There will be some heavy rainfall as well with Douglas, even though Douglas is moving a little bit faster than some of the systems that have affected us in the past. We do still expect rain accumulations for most of the islands to range in the 5 to 10 inch range. But keep in mind, again, that may fall in just the space of a few hours. And in mountainous terrain, that can definitely lead to flash flooding and damage. So you need to be aware of that if you live in a flood-prone area. For the Big Island, rainfall amounts are expected to be a little less, and we'll look for 2 to 5 inches there. Again, there could be intense downpours, though, that could result in some localized flash flooding. The timing for Douglas is about the same. There's not really any change to what we're expecting there. Again, the weather will go downhill for the Big Island into this evening, into the overnight hours, and then rather quickly progress from east to west up the chain to affect Maui County by late tonight, and conditions will start going downhill on Oʻahu late tonight or Sunday. And then by Kauai, it looks like as Douglas makes its point of closest approach, that would be later Sunday into Sunday night. The forecast track of Douglas takes it just north of Oʻahu. That's the precise forecast track, but it's important to remember that at 36 hours, we typically have about 55 miles of track error. That's wider than the island of Oʻahu. So Oʻahu is about 30 miles across if you drive from the South Shore to the North Shore. So we can't say, and I would really stress that you cannot say that one part of the island is safer than the other at this point. Any part of the islands could experience direct impacts from Maui up to Kauai and Niihau. Anybody could get direct impacts from this system as it comes through. I think that's about all I have in terms of the 11 a.m. advisory, and I think I will open it up for questions.
First question. During the 5 a.m. briefing, you gave a general timeline for residents to make their last-minute preps. With the latest forecast, does that still hold up?
Yeah, the timing, again, as I mentioned, is going to be about the same. If you have not completed your preparations for an approaching hurricane, it's time to do so. The Big Island is probably going to be spared the worst of the system. Nevertheless, though, if there were a left side wobble, we could still see really destructive conditions reach the Big Island. So I don't want folks there to completely let their guard down, and we have left the hurricane watch in effect. As you go farther north, the risk goes up rather quickly. And so, and of course, the timing is a little bit later. And I discussed that timing just a bit ago. So that timing is about the same. Again, for everyone, you need to wrap up your preparations before the onset of conditions. What we do know from past systems as well, that you do not want to be out in tropical storm force winds or higher and trying to secure loose objects. It becomes very dangerous once tropical storm force winds begin to be outside and preparing. You need to be hunkered down at that point. Another thing I want to point out too is that we know from past systems affecting the islands directly that we can get very unusual and very strong downslope acceleration around the mountains and around the terrain. Just because you're on one side of a mountain or the other does not necessarily mean that you're safe from the wind. Because the winds are rotating around the cyclone, what we expect to see here locally is that as Douglas approaches, you're going to start off with strong northerly winds, and then the winds are going to go toward the westerly, and then a Kona direction, southwest and south, and then finally, as the system departs, we'll see south winds turning around to the southeast. So you're going to have a wide variety of acceleration areas where damage can happen, and those will be changing with time. Those winds will shift as the center of the cyclone passes each island.